بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. كل سنة وحضراتكم طيبين. Good evening, dear honorable participants. We are glad to have you here all today. I'm Noha Rafi. I'm an assistant lecturer of forensic medicine and toxicology, Faculty of Medicine, Ain Shams University, and proudly an ASU MENA FAMER Regional Institute 2019 fellow. The use of technology in virtual assessment webinar is a very special one. It will tackle one of the spikiest areas that faces all of us in the current situation, the assessment. This webinar is a collaborative work of our technology-enhanced learning ML web team, whose picture is right on the screen, and I'm proud to be representing them today. This team is part of our FAMER community of practice, or as we say, the FAMER family. Our team members are doctors Jihan Hamid, Hani Wahib, Huwaida Abu Salah, Marwa Mustafa, Mustafa Shahid, Nagwa Nashat, Nagwan Rashwan, Nermeen Kamal, Samia Abdu, and Shahira Samir. And our advisor is Dr. Ilham Yusri. Today, we have two esteemed speakers who have vast knowledge in the field of assessment. Our first speaker is Dr. Mohammed Hassanin, Associate Professor of Medical Education and Clinical Biochemistry, Consultant of Vice President of Educational Affairs, King Abdulaziz University, as well as an ASU MENA FAMER Regional Institute faculty. Dr. Hassanin will be talking about the use of technology in virtual written assessment. After his presentation, the discussions will be moderated by Dr. Hani Wahib, Professor of Anatomy at Ain Shams University and Armed Forces College of Medicine, and 2019 fellow, as well as the Director of Online Presence at ASU MENA FAMER Regional Institute. The floor is all yours, Dr. Mohammed Hassanin.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Noha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you, Dr. Noha, and thank you for the team for inviting me to be with you today, inshallah, to speak about assessment of knowledge in virtual online virtual environment. Let us start. By activity, we can consider it like a pre-assessment, or could be considered as the icebreaker for our session. And I have like a hidden agenda for using this. So please, can you go to menti.com and write this code 861380. I think I sent this on the WhatsApp group. So I think most of you already log in and go to the menti.com. So in here we have two questions, and I need your answer on them. The first one is, what are the common technology tools used for virtual assessment? You can start to answer.
Excuse me, ya Jama'a, please take care. Dr. Mohammed Hassanin, you are muted.
Dr. Mohammed Hassanin is unmuted, Dr. Samar.
No, Hani, he is muted. Now he's unmuted.
Okay. Yes, Blackboard, Microsoft Form, MCQ. Please, we are now speaking about technology tools, not the assessment tools. E-exam. So we have more than one select Blackboard. So you find it larger than any, and the model also. Good. Google, LMS, whatever the type of this LMS, yes. Okay, we have 21 participants share in this short activity. 24, I think we have more to answer. Good. Okay, so mashallah, I think you already familiar with Zoom, yes, Zoom Teams, yes. You are familiar, mashallah, with most of the technology tools that could be used for virtual or online assessment, and this will facilitate my task today. Yes, mashallah, Canva also, yes. And by the way, and this is one of my hidden agenda, Mentimeter could be used for virtual assessment, especially for the formative, for activity like this, what we do now. Okay, let us go to the second question, which is, what are the challenges facing you, mashallah, already you answer, facing you in virtual assessment? I want to learn more about online assessment of student on clinical level. Most of time internet interruption, okay, clinical competency assessment, internet connection problem, assessment fairness, yes, exam security, good, visibility, reliability, and mainly this exam security. I didn't it before. I hope learn about internet connection more than internet connection. Difficulty in conducting clinical assessment. Not all students have internet. Student time, video sending, how to start. MashaAllah, we have a lot of input from you. Time, internet connection again, cheating, yes, cheating, technical issue, net speed, lack of training, yes, clinical skill assessment, yes. Okay, by the way, I'll inshallah send it to you the file that contain all these important issues or important challenge, which I agree with you about it. Okay, let us return to our presentation again about the benefit of online or visual assessment. As you see now, we can give a detailed feedback and instant feedback. Also accessibility, you can do the if inshallah there is no problem in connection, so you can accessible and the student will access the online assessment at any time and at anywhere. Also flexibility. But as an instructor or a faculty member, we have some concern or challenge, as you mentioned, regarding just a few items like academic integrity, high workload, and we will mention why high workload, student isolation, there is no communication face-to-face or contact or learning community together, technical issue, as you mentioned. Also, students have some concern regarding equity and fairness, especially if there is a problem related to net, technical issues, different technical ability, less opportunity to clarify assignment guidelines, again, because we are not face-to-face, we are online, so we have to develop certain communication skills rather than the verbal communication. Okay. These are some common methods that could be used for online assessment, including assignment, discussion forum that could be used in the learning management system as you do in Moodle or Blackboard, online examination, online peer feedback, e-portfolio. Also, you can use a digital media project, which could be individual or group assignment or group project, concept mapping, reflective writing, especially if you use e-portfolio or portfolio, you will add the reflection as a part of it. Research project, simulation, especially in our field, whatever it is, virtual lab or even simulation for the clinical, digital poster. So this is some common method for online assessment. But what is the common between them? The common between them is you need to develop a rubric for almost all of them. And I think this is another challenge. I'd like to thank Dr. Samar because she already takes the initiative and create a video for rubric development because you need it. And inshallah this week she will provide or conduct a webinar about rubric. So once you start online assessment using these previous tools, you need to develop your rubric. You need to be trained on developing it because almost all of these methods need a de novo rubric, not one which is used before. And the student also need to be trained on the rubric. I like this figure because it collects all professional learner toolkits for technology used in e-learning, not only in assessment. But here I make a circle on the tools you mentioned already it mashallah about the tools used for assessment. You can use, as you mentioned, Microsoft. You can use collaboration tools, especially that in Google document. If you do a certain group assignment and a student will work together with it. Video meeting tools, as you mentioned, Zoom, Skype, GoToMeeting. File sharing tools, if you ask a student to upload certain assignment either in Dropbox or Google Drive. Webinar tools like today, classroom tools like Google Class, learning management system, as you mentioned, Moodle and the Blackboard, and all of these other tools. You can use it mainly in teaching. But these, I think, if you agree with me, are the tools which could be used for assessment. So please remember this, because this is like a roadmap for all tools used for technology in both learning and assessment. Regarding technology and the assessment, there is certain application and certain program could be used, like Correct, and many college in Egypt already use Correct for e-assessment, which mark another application, ExamView, ExamSoft, Speedwall. All of these are application could be used for assessment, or as we mentioned, technology enhanced assessment, like technology enhanced learning. Again, you mentioned the problem of cheating in online assessment, especially on online exam. So you need another application or program for two reasons. One, for lockdown browser, because if you start online examination and the student, there is no monitoring or proctoring for them, so you need to ensure that their browser are locked, and also need a program to monitor them during the exam. So this is one of the application which is to wear lockdown on this monitor could be considered when we start online examination. So in this short session, we speak about the challenge about online or virtual assessment. Tools could be used for assessment in online courses. And finally, the technology tools that could be used either for the as a supplement to the e-learning, or even some of the application or program which could be used in e-assessment. Thank you. I think I take my time 10 minutes, and now is the time for questions. Thank you again for the team, and thank you for all for participating in this webinar. Okay, and I'm looking forward to questions to answer it.
Thank you, Dr. Mohammed Hassanin, for this summarized amazing presentation. Please, if anyone wanted to ask Dr. Mohammed to clarify anything, write on the chat. If the chat is not active, please write on the WhatsApp group.
Please, because the chat is not active with me, so I am waiting for that on WhatsApp group, Dr. Hain.
Yes, yes. We monitor both chatting and WhatsApp group.
Many thanks, Dr. Hain.
Okay, I have a question, Dr. Mohammed. If you
yes, sure.
Browser. You mentioned software termed respondents.
Yes, yes, this respondents.
Yes, is this browser uses the camera of the laptop to monitor, for example, the students?
Yes, yes. But the first, you log the browser through it. The second, it needs to use the web camera to monitor the students.
It uses a personal camera for each student?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
دكتور محمد.
Yes.
هو البراوزر ده موجود اونلاين ولا ايه؟ اللي
هو it is يعني سوفت وير دكتوره نهى، يعني yes, yes, you can purchase it through online and will be downloaded installed on computer, on all computer. It is like a license given to the school to use it.
يعني احنا المفروض الكلية هي هتاخده.
زيه زي اي learning management system. Buy it, buy the license and use it.
طب تمام ماشي.
We have question here from
دكتور محمد بعد إذنك.
sure. Okay.
طب احنا دلوقتي فور اكزامبل يعني لو لأي سبب أو آخر يعني والطلبة دول هيمتحنوا أونلاين من البيت. how we could prevent cheating، يعني ما احنا مش معقول هننزل لهم البرنامج ده على اللابتوبس بتاعتهم.
والله يا دكتوره يعني هي it is a challenge في الوقت الحالي طبعا، لان يعني ما حدش كان ريدي ان هو لهذه التجربه. يعني تقريبا معظم، يعني احنا عندنا هنا في الملك عبد العزيز كليه واحده بس، طب الاسنان، اللي عملت الموضوع ده. we have more than options. يعني if possible to avoid the online exam and to go to the open book exam, it will be perfect. This is يعني for my opinion, this will be the first option. The second option, you can use Zoom, Skype, another online. يعني some of our colleagues use Zoom and ask the student also be on Zoom during the exam and say monitor them. This is one of the way. So I think يعني for my يعني خبرتي المتقاطعة ان either this or this. Go to the book exam or use application like Zoom for
حضرتك قصدك
this.
زوم ويفتحوا الكام برضو ولا ايه؟
بالظبط، يفتح لازم، هو لازم يفتحوا الكاميرا عشان تقدري تشوفيه.
تمام. طب وحضرتك سؤال تاني معلش، ازاي نتأكد بقى من الطالب اللي قاعد ده ان هو نفس الطالب اللي بيمتحن؟
ما هي نفس القصه حضرتك برضو، انت لو هيبقى على الزوم برضو
ما هو انت مش عارف
طبعا
شكل، يعني انت حضرتك لا شايف
الكبير
كارنيهم ولا شايف شكل.
دكتور محمد
مع
may I just
العدد الكبير.
excuse me, may I just make sure that you know that we have non-Arabic speakers in the audience?
Okay.
Please, all conversations in
Dr. Mohammed, please, each one please mute his microphone except when using to ask a question. Then mute again.
Okay. طب I'll go to another question and to I know the time is strict, so we have a question from Dr. Ilham. From your personal experience, what is the software you used in assessment from all that you mentioned? Dr. Ilham, we already use question mark in Saudi Arabia. All software have advantages, have some limitation. It is to the training of the staff on the software. In Egypt, the يعني correct is used and it is used in perfect way. So I think correct is good. Question mark is good to be used. Of an institution, I already used good to be used, and even you, I think the license of it is $100 maybe like this. Also, it is perfect to use it. Another question: is it accepted by students and their families to monitor them? This is another challenge and other problem related to the especially for female students. So from the start, especially you are now moving. So from the start, you even if in the instruction you put it in the book, knowing the student ID is part of the exam or part of the, not only for the exam, for the teaching on the future, because we are moving to e-learning. So I need a policy to. We face this problem here, especially with students. Another question: do we expect sentence regarding clinical skill assessment? I think this question, inshallah, Dr. Muhammad Hani will go through in depth about clinical assessment. Please, could you show the slide some assessment application again? Dr. Hani, can I again share the screen?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course, sir.
Also, okay. So, I think we speak about this. Or I think it's okay. This slide. we have difficulty to use question mark through distance proctor, so we use model. Thank you, Dr. Asma, for Dr. Muhammad. You can use question mark through distance. No, Dr. Asma, we didn't use the question mark till now. We use Blackboard for online assessment, either for the online exam, written MCQ or whatever, or the assignment. We didn't use a question mark till now. So I think this is the question here, if I not forget any of them. Okay, Dr. Hani, are there any more question?
Yeah, we have one question from Dr. Islam. She's asking, is it okay to be monitored students? Do the families agree?
I answered this, Dr. Nagwa. It is a problem, but need to be in the policy from the start, because again we are going to e-learning. If not pure e-learning, at least blended learning will be the mode of teaching. I think maybe for the next semester at least.
A question from Dr. Asma. We have difficulty to use question mark through distance proctor. So we use model cloud. Dr. Muhammad, you can use question mark through distance?
Again, when I answer this also, Dr. Hani, no, till now we only use Blackboard for the online examination. Question mark till now, we didn't use it for online exam. We use it for the face-to-face exam.
Okay.
I have one question, if I may.
Sure, sure.
From all the proctoring programs that all people have used right now, is there a program that guaranteed 100% no cheating or 100% proctoring for the students, or there is no program that has done this until now?
والله دكتورة يعني unfortunately no, you can't guarantee this 100%, but it is again because we are just starting. يعني we could consider us as in the baby phase of the online exam. So till now we need more and more practice, and we need and more experience with e-exam and online exam, but and for my humble experience, there is no guarantee that there is no cheating. For this reason, I think going to another which on gives the students the chance to open book or open other browser. I think the solution now is to go to open book exam using other way rather than the traditional assessment.
Okay. I think there is also one last question.
Adopt Zoom for virtual assessment?
Yes, inshallah. Muhammad Hani, inshallah, will an idea about using Zoom. OSCE. Some of you ask about clinical assessment, so I think inshallah Dr. Muhammad Hani will speak about this and give us how to use Zoom for of clinical OSCE. Okay, there is I think even using assignment, how can we assure that the student himself doing the assignment? Again, I agree with you. So in this, added to the assignment or open book exam, you need to use a software for plagiarism, turn it in, to ensure that at least there is no plagiarism. You guarantee that someone else do the assignment for the student, but at least you search to ensure that there is no plagiarism, even no assignment copy, and the best from all students together. A large number of students, about 400 in each class. Exam will be not easy. Allah, again, I agree about the large number, and it is another a challenge, the large number, all of us facing it. But again, we need to share experience about how to deal with a large number of students, especially if we have a shortage in staff member.
Would I share a small experience to me in virtual assessment using Zoom?
Sure, أكيد. Sure.
Yeah. Nowadays, we put the student into very small groups, nearly 15 to 20. And one previous time, I made an MCQ exam. And as you said, Dr. Muhammad, we open the videos, and I watch every student while he is or she is answering the question, and they should turn it, يعني submit the answer immediately while we are on the video, on the Zoom meeting. So it does work in small group from 10 to 15, because the screen, you can see 10 to 15 students clear on the screen. But I can't understand how could this happen when we do have bigger size or bigger number of students. The screen would be very, very small, and you can't notice the student. Do you have any experience in that?
Yes. What they did in College of Dentistry in King Abdulaziz, they also divide the student over the staff member. So as you mentioned, every staff member or even every two staff member have 10 to 15 students to be monitored by them. So I agree with you, Dr. Alan, that it is difficult to monitor a large number of students. So this is what they did. They also divide the student over a staff member to solve this problem.
Dr. Muhammad, may I also add that you can use the breakout rooms for this. You can divide the students. You can use the breakout rooms feature in Zoom to divide the students into rooms and put invigilators into the rooms, and they can do this through one host. ممكن up to 100 students maybe or more.
Yes, and this is what we mentioned, that it is the experience of everyone. And this is one of the benefits of this webinar, to share experience and to benefit from each other from experience like this. Thank you.
Okay, we could move to the second session by Professor Dr. Muhammad Hani. Thank you, Dr. Muhammad Hassanin, for this amazing presentation.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Hani. Many thanks. Okay.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hassanin.
Thank you, Dr. Anna. Thank you.
So you can see on my screen, Dr. Hani, right?
Okay.
This shared?
Yes, yes, yes.
Very good.
It's clear.
So I will cover.
Let me just introduce you first.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Saina, of course, for this great presentation, for the fruitful discussions with all our participants. Our second speaker, of course, whose name has been mentioned many times now, is Dr. Muhammad Hani. He's professor of family medicine, College of Medicine and Medical Sciences, Arabian Gulf University, and an ASU MENA FEMA Regional Institute faculty as well. He will shed the light on using technology for virtual clinical assessment. After this presentation, the discussions will be moderated by Dr. Nagwa Nashat. She's an assistant professor of family medicine, director of the Medical Education and Human Resources Development Center, Faculty of Medicine, Menofee University, and of course, proudly an ASU MENA FEMA Regional Institute 2019 fellow. So please take over, Dr. Muhammad Hani.
Yes, and Dr. Nagwa is considered like my little sister. Thank you very much, Dr. Muhammad Hassanin, Professor Muhammad, for the informative presentation and for the rich discussion. I will go through the virtual clinical assessment topic. But before we go through the talking about online exams, we should remember that the assessment still should be aligned with teaching and learning. So please, when you choose your assessment method for clinical skills, please think about what you've been teaching your students. What are the methods of learning that they are using? And please ensure that the assessors are trained on the not only the assessment method, but also the technology to avoid any problems and that you didn't plan for in the day of the exam. So let's assume that 70 to 80% of learning outcomes that are related to clinical skills can be tested online. And we will make an exception of the psychomotor skills assessment or the physical examination skills that cannot be tested, unfortunately, directly through online method. My model or the suggested methods of assessment, and you can triangulate these methods to make the best benefit of using them and to avoid the shortcomings of each method, is to go back to the structured Viva exam as a method of assessment using the tools that we've been discussing, the tools for virtual meetings to conduct virtual structured Viva exams. Then you might use structured video clinical examination. You might use the objective structured practical examination, and you also can use virtual OSCE. So I will, in brief, describe each one of them and how it could be conducted, and then we could have our discussion. So for the first one is the structured Viva. Students usually select from a set of cards that you provide them, and each card will have a clinical scenario. You will take the students through some questions that are related to mainly to clinical reasoning and clinical decision making, and they can defend their choices for the examiners. Usually we use 2 assessors for structured Viva, and it usually takes 20 minutes. The other method is the objective structured video examination. When you record a video session to assess communication skills, and you also might record the video session for clinical examination of a patient with positive clinical findings, and you develop your assessment tools. Then in the day of the exam, students will watch the video encounters and respond to questions that are designed to test also their clinical skills. And this is the only tool that will enable you to assess the clinical or the physical examination skills or the psychomotor skills for the clinical part, but not fully, but they can at least recognize or elicit the abnormal physical findings. The third method, which I really prefer over the others, is the virtual OSCE. Normal OSCE conducted virtually. You have a scenario, you have a role player, or if you have, in case of shortage of role player and because of social distancing and the safety, you might make the examiner role play the scenario himself if he has the ability to do this. It needs some innovation to use the technology and to reduce the chances of cheating and keep the students busy. It cannot be actually performed at a wider scale as the usual OSCE, so you need really to limit the number of stations. You know that an acceptable number of OSCE stations is probably 12 or 14 to have a good reliability for exit exams and high stakes exams. From our experience, we cannot do more than 10 OSCE stations to save the time and to be able to examine a whole batch using this tool, this method. It's important to this is important to assess the communication skills and the clinical decision making and clinical reasoning of students. And some Western medical students use the virtual OSCE and added some kind of oral part to the virtual OSCE. So the students, while taking the history, the examiner go and ask him questions, which we do not do in a real OSCE, but this is some kind of compromise for the current situation. Also, you can test some of the ILOs that are related to clinical skills using written assessments. Because of all the softwares that Professor Mohammed Hassanin described that we can use, these softwares actually you can upload videos, you can upload pictures, you can upload ECGs, and use MCQs for the students to answer them. So the best thing will be using pictures as at the usual OSCE exam, but also you can use videos with positive clinical findings that the students can recognize and can answer some questions about these clinical signs or clinical findings. And also there's a very good written assessment which was introduced by to me by Dr. Inja Bouzaid. She's attending with us, and I hadn't an idea about it before. It's the script concordance test, where you have some. It's a complicated process, and actually it's not for the level of undergraduate programs, maybe for the postgraduate programs, because it's complicated and it challenges the student and assesses his decisions regarding different scenarios. So which test which, as you can see in this simplified table, that structured Viva only tests for the data interpretation, maybe management and clinical acumen and professionalism. The best thing so far is the structured video examination, which actually almost assesses all the aspects of clinical examination with an advantage to test psychomotor skills and physical examination skills. The OSPE will only test the data interpretation, but with technology, it can test more. The virtual OSCE will also test history taking, communication, management, and clinical acumen. Beware that professionalism also can be tested via structured Viva with all the concerns about the subjectivity of oral exams and via the virtual, the video structured exams. So if you will you want to compare how much effort and the logistics needed for each method, you will find that for the structured Viva, you need more time for each station. Number of assessors, you need 2 assessors. They are not easy to develop. The number of stations to avoid cheating, you will need a good number of stations because of the nature of this exam. It requires assessor training, yes, to eliminate the subjectivity. There are some technology challenges, and it's not that very valid, and it's not very reliable, even if you try to make it very structured. For the video structured examination, the time, it will be the same as the OSCE, but it is more difficult to develop because you need to bring a patient with positive clinical findings and make a professional videotape for clinical examination, or you might also use some videos that are available on online, and you might like copy the videos and ask the students to interpret them. So the video, although it's very reliable, it tests the physical examination skills in an indirect way, but it's not that valid, and it has a lot of technological challenges. The OSCE is the easiest, definitely. The OSCE is in between. It is a reliable method. It's not that very valid, especially when it is a virtual OSCE. It has some technological challenges. Can really be with some training it can be done. You need to develop a number of stations because there are no rest stations in the virtual OSCE, or probably we will not be able to have rest stations. So you will examine less number of students. So some issues to consider. Remember to consider item difficulty when generating a big number of items, because you need to standardize the assessor judgment and to standardize your exam, to try to think about the level of difficulty and take a look to your blueprint. Make sure that you provide good psychometrics after you finish your exams. Alaikum assalam. Formative assessment has been already conducted electronically in many institutes. This is something good. So the last thing is about the virtual setup of clinical exams. You might use the WebEx, Microsoft Teams, you might use Zoom or other virtual meeting applications. From my experience, Zoom is the best because you can put the students into breakout rooms and you can see them using the video. In WebEx, you can only listen to them. It's only audio, breakout rooms. In Microsoft Teams, it's almost impossible. It is possible, but it cannot be done. I couldn't do it. So using the Zoom, you will use either you make the one student in each breakout room and the assessors will go from one room to another, or you put all the students in the waiting room, then you get the assessors in the breakout rooms, get the students in common rooms and distribute them into the breakout rooms. This needs more explanation on Zoom, maybe in another time. But here we have, in each Zoom meeting, we will have a group of students who can rotate between rooms as the usual OSCE very easily. You can adjust the timing. You can assign a facilitator or a coordinator who will switch the students every, for example, 10 minutes from room 1 to room 2 to room 3 to room 4. And the examiners and the role players are sitting in the room, in the virtual room, of course. They are sitting there waiting for the next student. An advice or a tip, please, you can get your examiners and role players into campus while students will be at home. So it's better to control the technological aspects and any difficulties and any surprises in the conducting the virtual OSCE. So you better get your examiners into campus with the role players, as much role players as you can. If you can't get enough role players, the examiners can role play the OSCE stations. And please do not forget about the logistics, the internet connection, the number of computers that are going to be used, the level of training of the assessors, the role players and their logistics. Make sure that everybody comes in time, just like the usual OSCE. Thank you very much, and I hope that this was of benefit to our audience. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Muhammad. You had the title, the subject of the scene, of the recent scene. Actually, we have a lot of questions. Since the clinical training stopped, what is your advice about the video OSCE? Where will they get patients to record the videos of the clinical examination? Where they are going to get the patients?
Actually, if you didn't, I advise that if you didn't train your students in such a way, please do not examine them in this way. So if the clinical training is done and you have not provided training on using patients on videos, please do not examine the students in such a way. It will not be fair. Otherwise, if you have done this, you can use the standardized patients or the patient that we have. If you are in Egypt, you can get patients with clinical findings easily. So you can use these patients with non-clinical findings and videotape them and use these videos for the exams.
If there are real trial photos or videos for virtual OSCE, can we see them?
What do you mean by real trial?
This was the question. Did you do? Okay, let me rephrase. Did you do a trial for OSCE, virtual OSCE?
Yes, we are. And one tip: conduct as much mocks as you can because it's full of surprises. We are conducting mocks. Yes.
Yeah, so you did mocks and then you went to the final exam, right?
Yes.
Okay, we have another question. So you personally go with video OSCE, Dr. Muhammad. Can it replace the high takes exit exams like the board exams?
Of course not.
Of course not.
Yeah, because you are giving these people license to practice.
Okay, in video OSCE, do you mean that the student will go to the hospital and examine a patient while recording it and then send it to the examiner, but this will send them to the hospital and arrangement to avoid overcrowding?
No. Yes, the examiner in a safe environment, the examiner or the department will videotape some patients with some real clinical signs. Then in the exam, you will run the videotape and the students will watch the videotape, and then you ask him about, for example, the technique. Is this the correct examination technique? What do you think? You describe the finding and let the student interpret the finding, link it with the clinical history of the patient. So this is how we do it. You don't send the students to hospitals.
Then a comment that this campus suggestion is so wonderful and making life easy for video OSCE. Then we have another question or clarification: how to overcome the low content validity with virtual OSCE?
How to overcome the low content validity with what do you mean
with virtual OSCE?
I think to overcome the validity, the poor validity, is to write the scenarios in a better way, to train your role players in a better way, to train your assessors in a better way. You make it as much similar to the actual live cases as you can.
Okay. Reducing the number of the stations in video OSCE, does it affect the reliability?
I don't know. it hasn't been tried yet, but I will tell you, inshallah, by the.
But it's great that.
Yeah.
Okay, it was so useful, Dr. Hani, is a setup video of examination and student finding what is wrong considered in video OSCE. Is a setup of.
Yeah.
It is a setup of video examination and student find what is wrong considered video OSCE. When you set up for a video examination and the students say what did they do wrong, is that considered a video OSCE?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so what is the virtual solution for exit clinical exam as long as you said that doesn't go correct for the board exam?
Okay, my suggestion is to get the 80% that we've agreed on, do them now, and when they come back, examine them in a very short clinical examination. Make sure that they have the essential clinical examination skills for graduation. So my advice will be do what you can do for now, and then postpone the psychomotor examination part.
So this is also another question within the same stream. Do you mean by virtual OSCE that all stations won't be procedural station?
Yes, it will be difficult to conduct one of these.
Okay. They are thanking you for this session, Dr. Hani. Zoom OSCE technique. How many students in a circuit?
Based on the number of the assessors that you can provide, and the number of role players that you can provide, and the number of rooms, and the number of computers that you can provide, and your connectivity, you calculate all these factors and come out with the number of students that you can examine. In my institute, we will be able only to examine 10 students per Zoom meeting, and we will examine 2 sets of students parallelly, only 2 sets. We will examine 20 students in the morning and 20 students in the afternoon. This is the best that we came out with.
It's great
Dr.
that...
Ranagwa, I think that we could make Dr. Jihan Salah speak and clarify her point of view.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure.
Dr. Jihan, please clarify your point of view. Dr. Jihan, please unmute your phone, your mic.
Good evening, Dr. Muhammad. Good evening.
Good evening.
This means that in virtual OSCE or other types displayed here in this lecture, all stations will be as response stations, and no one method can examine the students while showing the procedure or demonstrating.
As far as I imagine, only the video. You can show him the procedure steps, and he might interpret, whether tell you if these steps are the right steps, if the technique is done correctly or not. This is the best that you can do. Otherwise, there are some suggestions that the student, like, he brings some kind of volunteer family member to conduct physical examination on him, and you tell him whether it's right or wrong. But I don't think that will apply on a whole batch.
Okay.
I think you agree with me.
So your experience is about analysis and interpretation stations, yeah?
Yes, and history taking and interpretation, of course, clinical decision making. These are a lot. These are most of the clinical, the objectives related to clinical skills.
But with a large cohort, it is, I think, it is so difficult for us to examine them in demonstration. Do you agree me?
Yes, I do, of course.
Okay. The second question, from the table you displayed in the beginning of the lecture, it was written that content validity is low with virtual OSCE and virtual OSP, and there are only available 5 or 10 stations. This will threaten the content validity. How to overcome this issue?
It's a compromise. يعني the table that I've displayed is just an assumption. I haven't run the exam yet. After running the exam, we'll run the psychometrics. But this number of stations is the best that we can do in the current situations, which are not ideal. We are accepting يعني alternative solutions. So you cannot tell the exact numbers until you run it and you run your psychometrics, and then you can compare and come out with solutions. I assume that it will not يعني proper يعني the sampling of course will be affected, but good stations, good training hopefully will improve the يعني the validity and reliability in general.
So we can conclude that we can use only virtual OSCE in urgent situations only, like that of COVID-19 pandemic. It is not the ideal except for urgent situations.
Yes, it's an alternative solution for unusual situation, atypical.
Where there are no solutions other than this.
Yes, and after that I will provide you with the psychometrics, and let's see. Maybe it's good. No.
Thank you, Professor Mohammed, for this nice lecture. Thank you.
You're most welcome, Professor. You're most welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Mohammed, for this nice and informative session, and for all the questions that had been raised so far. Now we would like our participants just write in the WhatsApp the main points they came up with. They have just 1 minute just to write one learning moment, one message they came up from today's session, and then we are going to move to the wrap up with Summer. And here we are going to go with our regional director and our hero, Summer. You have the ground.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Dr. Thank you first to the to our ML Web team, Technology Enhanced Learning team, for this amazing presentation. Thank you so much for all the effort you put into this planning. The team and the 2019 fellows, 2020 fellows, and their advisor, Professor Dr. Ilham Yusri, for all the amazing effort you put into this. Let me just move on to thank Professor Dr. Mohammed Hassanin for his amazing lecture, where he gave us a few learning moments that I want to share with you today. I want to share with you now. He shared with us this slide, which I think was one of the best possibilities to sum up the concepts that we are living under now, and all the questions and the issues that revolve around virtual assessment. So he summed it all up in one presentation. I hope in one slide. I hope you can see it well. And we thank you so much for this slide that sums up the tools, including collaborative tools, office tools, conferences, webinars, emails, browsers, and everything we can use in this quest for virtual teaching and virtual assessment. After that, Dr. Mohammed shared with us a few other applications and websites, including Correct, Exam View, Speedwell, Question Mark, and we had a great discussion about that as well. So this is a take-home message for me, as it is for some of you, I hope. And then we moved to Professor Dr. Mohammed Hani. Dr. Mohammed Hani spoke to us a lot about doing virtual clinical examinations, which was new to many of us. And in doing that, he reminded us first that in order to start planning for assessment, we have to be aligned first with what we have actually taught our students, and to make sure that our assessors are also trained. Dr. Mohammed Hani also reminded us that 80% of the learning outcomes related to clinical skills can be tested online, and this is what he is advocating for, and hopefully we will be reading his publication in that area and the model that he generated after implementing it in his university, inshallah, very soon. Again, Dr. Mohammed Hani introduced methodologies that can be used online, including online Viva examination, which we have been using before, but now we turn it into our virtual setting, structured video examination, structured OSCE, practical OSCEs that are done normally, and then the virtual OSCEs that are done. He did a comparison and compared those four in terms of actual skills that they can assess, and he gave us this table, which I think is very useful, so I thought I would share it again with you all today. Many of you posed questions and received your answers. Many of you did not get the answers that they were hoping for because of the short time. And this is why we would like to invite you and let you know that we are having a global webinar series that will be starting, inshallah, very, very soon. It will be starting actually the day after tomorrow. Dr. Mohammed Hassanin, we will have him for over an hour with open questions. The rest of us will be there. It's a collaborative effort between us and Mahi Institute, which is another regional institute in India. So hopefully we will be seeing you there. We will share the flyer, inshallah, on the WhatsApp group. So hopefully this was of use to you, and the future presentations will be of use to you as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Hani?
Thank you all for attending and this rich discussion. And I hope that we could repeat these webinars repeatedly and be more concise in each topic. Today we take global pictures about the assessment. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
The record,
Thank you,
the link,
Thank you.
Thank you.
the link
for
to the
being
record,
in time.
Thank you all.
the link to the
Thank
recording
you.
will be available on the WhatsApp group.
And I think we are in time right now. It's time for closure. Thank you all for being punctual and stick to the time. Thank you. Great team, great achievement, great presenters. Thank you for the wrap up, Sama.
Thank you very much
We
for
enjoyed a
Thank you
lot.
so much.
Bye bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
you.
Thanks for the ML
Thank you.
web.
Thank you.
It's
Thank you
very
so much. Thank you
advanced
so
team.
much.
Thank
Thank you, Dr. Ilham.
Yeah.
Hani,
Thank you so much.
Dr.
Thank
Muhammad.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you. Thank you. Salam
you.
alaikum.
Thank you very much. Thank you.